Black Billionaire stopped by security guards until the CEO arrives and shocks the whole lobby. Sir, I asked you a question. Step back and show your ID. Isaiah Cole didn't flinch. The tall black man, dressed in a simple charcoal suit and spotless sneakers, stood calmly at the entrance of the marble lobby of Solaritech Tower in downtown Chicago. His dark brown eyes scanned the two uniformed security guards standing in front of him, both white, both younger, both blocking the revolving glass doors with a sense of authority they hadn't earned. "I told you," Isaiah said slowly, voice smooth but unyielding. "I'm here for a scheduled meeting. I don't need to show you anything to enter a public lobby." "Not with that attitude," said the shorter guard, Russo, stepping closer, "and especially not dressed like that. This isn't some shopping mall." Isaiah blinked once, calm, composed. He had known this could happen. He had even expected it. What he didn't expect was the crowd beginning to form behind him, employees trickling in from lunch, delivery drivers, an executive assistant who froze when she saw what was happening. The taller guard, Kincaid, leaned into his earpiece and muttered something, eyes never leaving Isaiah. "We might have a problem in the lobby," he said into the mic. A problem. That's what they called him. A problem in tailored wool and polished leather. "I have an 11:30 appointment," Isaiah repeated, enunciating each word. "With Evelyn Park." "Evelyn Park doesn't meet with people like you," Russo snapped. And there it was. Not, "You're not on the list." Not, "I can't find your appointment." But, "People like you." Isaiah felt the words burn, not because they were new, but because they were so old, so familiar. And still, after all his years, all his wins, they had the power to sting. He slowly reached into his jacket pocket. Both guards instantly tensed. Kincaid moved his hand toward the taser on his hip. Isaiah stopped. "You're kidding," he said flatly. "You think I'm pulling a weapon? In a lobby? Wearing a Tom Ford suit?" "Keep your hands where I can see them," Russo barked. "Back against the wall." The assistant from earlier stepped forward. Her voice trembled. "I think he's telling the truth. Evelyn never schedules meetings this last minute unless it's someone important." "Stay out of this, ma'am," Kincaid said without turning. "We'll handle it." Isaiah glanced at the security camera blinking above the reception desk. He gave it the smallest nod. Then he slowly turned, placing his hands behind his back, palms open. "Is this what you want?" he asked quietly. "To escort me out for walking into a building I own 12% of?" They didn't respond. Not because they didn't hear him, but because they didn't believe him. And right then, the elevator bell rang. The doors opened with a soft chime, and out stepped Evelyn Park, CEO of Solaritech. Early 40s, Korean-American, power in every step, dark blue blazer flowing behind her like a cape. She froze for a split second when she saw Isaiah flanked by two guards. Then she strode forward like a storm. "What the hell is going on?" she demanded. Russo straightened. "This man was attempting to bypass security, ma'am. No ID, acting suspicious." Evelyn didn't even look at them. Her eyes were locked on Isaiah. Her expression changed, shame, recognition, then pure fury. "Isaiah," she breathed, "I am so sorry." And just like that, the guard's posture changed. Kincaid stepped back. Russo's eyes darted between his partner and the CEO, his voice faltering. "Ma'am, we were just doing our job." He wouldn't show ID. Evelyn turned to them slowly, like a lioness sizing up prey. "Did it not occur to either of you," she said, voice like ice, "that a black man in a suit might have legitimate business in this building?" Silence. "He is a founding investor. He sits on our advisory board, and you put your hands on him?" Isaiah finally spoke, voice low. "They didn't touch me. Yet. But they were close." Evelyn's jaw tightened. "You're both suspended, effective immediately." "But ma'am," I said immediately. The lobby had gone deathly quiet. Even the janitor with the mop had stopped mid-swipe. Evelyn turned back to Isaiah. "You came unannounced," she said, more softly now. "Why?" Isaiah offered a tired smile. "Because I wanted to see what's changed." And his smile faded. "Not enough?" She nodded once. "Walk with me." They headed toward the elevator. Cameras, phones, eyes, everyone watching. Before the doors closed behind them, Isaiah turned his head. "Next time," he said to the guards, "ask yourself why you see a threat in skin, not in action." And then he was gone. Upstairs, Evelyn led him into her glass-walled office. "I know what you're going to say," she began. "We've done the seminars. We have new hiring protocols. We pushed for reform." Isaiah looked out of the window at the skyline. "But not at the front door." "You're right," she admitted. "And that's on me." He turned to her. "Evelyn, I didn't come here just to visit. I'm taking a bigger role." She blinked. "You mean—" "I want oversight over HR, security, and community engagement, starting today. I'm done being a silent investor." A long pause. Then she smiled. "Welcome back, Isaiah." He nodded. "Let's shake this place to its core." The conference room on the 32nd floor of Solaritech was built for billion-dollar meetings. Glass walls, a 12-foot walnut table, and a skyline view of Chicago that could make a junior exec cry. But the room had never felt colder. Evelyn sat at the head of the table. Isaiah stood near the window, hands behind his back, staring at the city he helped build. "HR says we're covered," said Martin Ellison, the company's chief compliance officer, flipping through a stack of printed reports. "Both guards passed sensitivity training. Twice. We even ran internal bias audits last quarter." Isaiah didn't turn around. "So that's supposed to mean what?" he said. "That today was an accident." Martin hesitated. "I'm saying it's not a systemic issue. It's a mistake by two individuals." Isaiah finally faced him, stepping forward. "Number, that's where you're wrong. It's only a mistake if it happens once. But when it keeps happening to people who look like me, talk like me, walk into their own buildings and still get stopped, that's not a mistake. That's a symptom." The room went still. Evelyn folded her hands, listening. Her usual assertiveness softened into something quieter, heavier. She was remembering how many times she'd sat through similar conversations and done too little. "Isaiah," she said gently, "what are you asking us to do?" He didn't hesitate. "I want full authority to launch an internal review, not just of security, but hiring, promotions, vendor contracts, everything. And I want real power, not symbolic." Martin opened his mouth, then closed it. Evelyn looked at him, then back at Isaiah. "Done." The decision shocked half the room. Martin leaned forward. "Wait. Evelyn, this sets a precedent." "It sets the right precedent," she said. Isaiah's expression didn't change. "And I want to start by interviewing the guards myself, off record." Martin blinked. "That's highly irregular." Isaiah looked him in the eye. "So was being profiled in my own building." Downstairs, in a small break room now doubling as a temporary HR space, Russo sat with crossed arms. His uniform had been replaced with a hoodie and jeans, but the defensiveness hadn't gone anywhere. "You're not going to sue, are you?" he asked as Isaiah entered. "Should I?" Russo shifted. "I mean, it's just people exaggerate things these days. It was a misunderstanding. You came in acting like you owned the place." Isaiah pulled out a chair. "That's because I do own part of the place." Russo scoffed but said nothing. "You know," Isaiah said calmly, "I grew up not too far from here, Englewood. Walked past buildings like this thinking I'd never get in. So yeah, when I finally do, I walk like I own it. Because I earned that walk. and it scares people who think power should look different. Russo looked away. That's not what this was. Then what was it? No answer. Isaiah leaned in. Do you know how many young black men you've probably stopped in the last year? How many of them didn't have a CEO stepping off an elevator to rescue them? Russo's eyes narrowed. I got a job to do. I follow protocol. Your protocol needs fixing. Upstairs again, Evelyn sat in her office, reviewing an anonymous email forwarded by the internal watchdog system. The subject line read, You might want to ask who else has been stopped. Attached was a spreadsheet, hundreds of entries, visitors flagged, most of them black or brown. Most of them never made it to their meetings. She stared at it for a long time before forwarding it to Isaiah. His reply came 2 minutes later. Let's blow this open. Later that afternoon, a whistleblower, an administrative assistant named Layla, who had worked in building security 2 years ago, came forward with even more information. Private messages between guards mocking visitors, calling them walk-ins from the hood or suspicious suits. Photos, chat logs, logs that had somehow never been sent to HR, and that was when the twist came. One name stood out in the chat logs, Chairman Douglas Greer, the board member who had always resisted Isaiah's increased involvement. The messages showed him encouraging the guards to be extra cautious around new money types and community hires. Isaiah stood at the large screen in Evelyn's office as the evidence scrolled. The room felt airless. Evelyn turned slowly. He was vetting security protocols directly. That's not even part of his role. Isaiah's jaw clenched. He knew exactly what he was doing. Martin burst into the room moments later. We just got a call from Greer's office. He's resigning. Effective immediately. No apology? Evelyn asked. Martin shook his head. Isaiah exhaled and walked to the window again. We're not done. Evelyn looked at him. What do you want to do next? He turned back, a fire in his eyes. Expose the system, publicly. The press, the shareholders, the people inside this company who think they're safe behind their titles. No more covering up. No more quiet firings. Evelyn hesitated, then nodded. We go loud. And in that moment, Isaiah knew. This wasn't just about today. This was going to be war. A war against the quiet discrimination that dressed itself in business, casual and smiled at receptions. A war against every door that stayed closed until someone like him forced it open. And this time, he wouldn't be walking through it alone. The headline hit the business world like a thunderclap. Black billionaire demands corporate overhaul after security incident at Solara Tech headquarters. By noon, it was trending on every major platform. Morning news anchors dissected it. Panelists debated it. LinkedIn buzzed with long, performative think pieces. But none of it compared to the video Isaiah personally released that afternoon. It wasn't slick. No fancy lighting. Just Isaiah, standing in a simple office, his expression unreadable. My name is Isaiah Cole. I'm a partner and investor in Solara Tech. Yesterday, I was racially profiled by 2 security guards in the lobby of a company I help lead. But this story isn't just about me. It's about the dozens, maybe hundreds of others who walked into that lobby and never made it to their meetings. He paused. And it's about a board member who quietly encouraged it. The video ended with a promise. There would be a full investigation, and anyone responsible, no matter how powerful, would be held accountable. Within an hour, Evelyn's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Board members, shareholders, reporters. The lobby was no longer just a lobby. It had become a symbol, a line in the sand. Later that evening, Evelyn and Isaiah met privately at her home in Gold Coast. She poured 2 glasses of bourbon and handed him one. You just detonated a corporate nuke, she said quietly. Isaiah sipped. You still with me? Evelyn looked him in the eye. I'm in, all the way. But it's not just Greer. We've got rot in the foundation, and the board is scared. Half of them want to vote on removing you from the leadership council. Isaiah raised an eyebrow. Let them try. She shook her head. I'm not worried about your seat. I'm worried they'll offer up Rousseau and call it justice. Try to protect the institution while sacrificing pawns. Isaiah leaned back. Then we hit them again. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folder. Evelyn flipped it open, and her eyes widened. These are vendor contracts, he said. Greer funneled millions to a firm run by his brother-in-law. And look at the hiring pipeline data. 90% of tech apprentices last year were white, from the same 3 suburban colleges. You think that's a coincidence? Evelyn's jaw clenched. Number that's design. They hatched the next phase that night. By morning, a formal report was submitted to the Ethics and Oversight Committee, and Evelyn called a special board session. But before that could take place, something unexpected happened. A letter leaked. Anonymous. Written by a group of concerned Solara Tech employees. The content was explosive. It outlined incidents over the past 5 years, stories of people of color denied opportunities, pushed out quietly, or blocked from promotions. Dozens of signatures were redacted, but the truth was clear. This wasn't a one-time event. It was a pattern, and Isaiah hadn't expected it. When he read it, he felt his stomach knot. Not from shock, but from guilt. He had been at the top for years, focusing on returns and strategy, believing that his success somehow shielded the others. It didn't. That night, he walked into the rooftop bar of a hotel near Millennium Park to meet someone unexpected. Camila Torres. She had been a junior product manager at Solara Tech 3 years ago, quiet, brilliant, and Latina. She vanished without explanation. Now she sat across from him, arms folded. I always wondered if you'd reach out, she said. I didn't know the extent, he replied. That's the problem. You should have, she said coldly. You were one of us, and the higher you climbed, the more invisible we became. Isaiah didn't argue. I need your help, he said instead. Camilla narrowed her eyes. Why me? Because you know what it's like to be ignored, and you still chose to speak up. That takes guts. I need someone like you leading this reform from the inside. She stared at him. I don't trust you, she said. Good, Isaiah replied. That means you'll keep me honest. The tension melted just slightly. A flicker of something new passed between them. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe possibility. As they parted ways that night, Camilla said one last thing. Don't just burn it all down. Build something better. The next morning, Camilla was reintroduced to the company as Director of Equity Innovation, a role Isaiah invented, funded, and gave her full independence to run. The company felt the shift instantly. But not everyone welcomed it. Inside a penthouse conference room, board member Natalie Chen stared daggers at Evelyn as the special session convened. You're letting Isaiah turn this company into a PR war zone, Natalie snapped. Do you know how many clients called this morning? The optics are a disaster. Evelyn was calm. Better an honest disaster than a polished lie. You're protecting a man who's turning on his own board. Number, I'm protecting the future of this company. You should ask yourself why that feels like a threat. Isaiah walked into the room at that moment, dressed in a dark gray suit, no tie, sharp and quiet like a storm about to break. Let's begin, he said. The board didn't know it yet, but the next few hours would be historic. Not just for Solara Tech, but for every company watching. Because Isaiah hadn't just come to play defense, he came with receipts. And the lobby incident? That was just the spark. The boardroom was silent except for the low hum of the city outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. Every executive, every shareholder representative, every advisor sat in stiff, nervous silence as Isaiah Cole placed a thick black folder on the glossy table. No one dared to speak. Evelyn broke the silence. This meeting has been called under Article 6.2 of the Solaritech Charter, Emergency Internal Ethics Review. Isaiah glanced around the table, then locked eyes with Natalie Chen, whose fingers clutched her pearl necklace so tightly it looked like she might crush it. "You all know why we're here," he began, his voice level but firm. "But what you don't know is how deep this goes." He opened the folder and slid a stack of documents to the center. These are whistleblower statements. Verified, dated, time-stamped. They detail incidents of racial bias, gender-based discrimination, and retaliation. Not one, not 10, 43 cases, over 5 years, and nearly all of them were quietly buried. Whispers broke out. A few board members leaned forward, reading the pages. One of them, Andrew McHale, paled visibly. Isaiah continued, "Most of the names involved have either resigned or been promoted, including some in this room." Natalie stood abruptly. "This is absurd. These are anonymous claims. Anyone could have written them. This feels like a personal vendetta." Isaiah didn't flinch. "Vendetta? Number truth? Absolutely." He slid another document toward her. "This is a contract between Solaritech and Carver Development Solutions. That's your husband's firm, right?" Natalie's face went sheet white. Isaiah turned to the others. "Since 2018, we've funneled over $12 million to that firm with no competitive bidding. That's called self-dealing. That's a breach of fiduciary duty," Evelyn added, "and a felony under SEC regulations if proven." The tension in the room snapped like a taut wire. Natalie stumbled back into her seat. Her voice wavered. You set me up." Isaiah stared at her coldly. "You set yourself up. I just stopped looking the other way." The room buzzed with unease, but Isaiah wasn't done. He turned to the large screen behind him and hit a remote. A security footage clip began to play. It showed the lobby, the guards stopping him, the smirks, the disbelief in his voice, the moment one of them reached for his arm, then the door opening, Evelyn's entrance, the shock on their faces. Isaiah let it play in full silence. When it ended, he looked up. "I didn't release this part publicly, not yet, but I will, unless this company takes real structural action." Andrew McHale, who had been silent until now, finally cleared his throat. "What are you proposing?" Isaiah turned a page. 1. An external diversity audit, with real teeth, not performative fluff. 2. A full review of all hiring and promotion practices, with public transparency. 3. Anyone found complicit in discrimination, past or present, is either terminated or resigns. No golden parachutes. And 4. Camila Torres, our new Director of Equity Innovation, is given direct access to the board with quarterly oversight power. A beat. Natalie laughed, bitterly. "You think you can just walk in here and dictate terms because some guards didn't recognize you?" Isaiah stepped closer. I think I can walk in here and demand change, because for years I believed this company could be better, and I was wrong. Now, I'm going to make it right." Evelyn looked around the table. "Motion to vote," she said. One by one, the board members gave their vote. Some reluctant, some angry, but one by one they all raised their hands. All but Natalie. She stood slowly, eyes blazing. "You people are making a mistake," she snapped. "You think this ends with me? This company was built on power plays. If you let him run this, you'll regret it." Isaiah didn't move. "You've mistaken fear for leadership. That ends now." Natalie stormed out. Her heels echoed down the hallway like a retreating threat. After a moment, Silence settled again. Evelyn turned to Isaiah. "She's gone, but this is just the beginning." Isaiah nodded. "Good, because I'm just getting started." Later that afternoon, Camilla walked into her new office, a space with windows, light, and a view that stretched over the city. On the desk was a simple handwritten note. "Thank you for staying in the fight." Isaiah. But even as the reforms began rolling out, Isaiah knew the backlash wasn't over. There would be whispers, there would be corporate resistance, there would be other Natalies. But now the tide had turned, and the man once stopped at the door had just walked into the very heart of the system, to change it, from within. Isaiah stood in front of the glass wall of his office, arms crossed, eyes tracing the skyline of downtown Atlanta. From this height, the city looked peaceful, almost honest. But he knew better. A knock pulled him from his thoughts. Camilla stepped in, her brow furrowed. "You've got to see this." She handed him a folder. Inside were 3 documents: a formal grievance filed anonymously, a subpoena request from a state regulatory agency, and a heavily redacted email thread between 2 board members, Andrew McHale and a name Isaiah hadn't expected, Marcus Trent. Isaiah's jaw tightened. "Trent, he's barely shown up to 3 meetings this year." Camilla nodded, which made it easy for him to make calls behind the scenes. Isaiah scanned the emails. They painted a disturbing picture, allegations that Isaiah had manipulated financial data for personal gain. Completely fabricated, but dangerous enough to warrant an investigation. "They're trying to discredit me before the reforms lock in," he said. "They're scared," Camilla replied. "This is retaliation, strategic and dirty." Isaiah exhaled. "Then it's time to show them what fear looks like when it doesn't back down." The next morning, Isaiah walked into the legal compliance office. The head of internal investigations, a sharp woman named Deja Marshall, met him with a blank expression. "I received your message," she said. "If you're ready to respond, I suggest we go on record." "I'm ready," Isaiah said, taking a seat. Deja pressed a recorder. "For the record, Isaiah Cole, Chief Strategic Officer, has been accused by an anonymous source of altering financial reports related to Carver Development Solutions' divestment strategy. Do you deny these allegations?" "I do. Categorically, and I can prove it." He slid a drive across the table. "That contains full email correspondence, chain of custody reports, and witness logs, all time-stamped. I've been documenting every major internal reform step since I started pushing back against Natalie Chen's dealings." Deja took the drive without a word, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Isaiah leaned forward. "This isn't just a smear. It's a coordinated attempt to weaponize the system, to protect old money and old habits. And I have a feeling Marcus Trent is just the face. Someone else is pulling strings." Deja stopped the recording. "You might want to look at this." She handed him a sealed envelope. Inside was an unsigned memo detailing a private board meeting scheduled without Isaiah or Evelyn present. A meeting to vote on temporary reassignment of executive oversight due to ongoing investigations. "They're trying to bench me," Isaiah whispered. "And keep Evelyn out of the room while they do it," Deja added. Isaiah stood. "Then we crashed that meeting." That evening, in a private executive lounge on the 45th floor, a half-dozen board members sat around a mahogany table, Andrew McHale at the head, Marcus Trent by his side. "Isaiah's destabilizing the company," Andrew said, voice low and firm. "He's forcing reforms that disrupt legacy relationships. Investors are nervous. It's time we restore order." One of the members, an older woman named Ruth Halpern, shifted uncomfortably. "Do we have actual evidence against him?" Marcus smirked. "Enough doubt to justify a pause in authority." The door opened. Everyone froze. Isaiah Cole walked in. Behind him, Evelyn Grant. "No one's pausing anything," Isaiah said. Andrew rose. "You're not authorized to be here." Evelyn stepped forward. "Actually, as acting CEO, I have full authority to attend any meeting involving executive oversight, and I also have an injunction signed 10 minutes ago by Judge Forrester, halting any vote related to disciplinary action until the internal review is complete." Isaiah tossed another folder on the table. "And here's a list of companies tied to Marcus's private firm, all with questionable contracts signed over the last 3 years. If this goes to court, the press won't focus on me." Andrew's voice turned hard. "You're playing with fire." "No," Isaiah replied. "I'm putting it out." Silence. Ruth finally spoke. "I vote we suspend all disciplinary motions until the audit is complete." 3 others nodded in agreement. Andrew sat back, lips pressed tight. Trent avoided eye contact. Isaiah leaned forward, locking eyes with both of them. "This is bigger than any one of us. It's about whether we're going to be the company we claim to be, or just another machine powered by fear and exclusion." He turned to leave, but before stepping out, he paused at the door. "Oh, and Marcus? I'd start looking for a lawyer. Deja's already reviewing those contracts." As the door clicked shut behind him, the room erupted, half with panic, half with grudging respect. Back in the hallway, Evelyn exhaled. "You just punched a hornet's nest." Isaiah smiled. "Good. Let's see who starts running." It started with a text at 3:17 a.m. Unknown number. "They're bringing in the feds. Check your 6." Isaiah sat up in bed, the glow of his phone casting harsh shadows across his face. Camilla stirred beside him, but he was already on his feet, pulse accelerating. His mind raced through possibilities. The SECFBI? IRS? Who had the reach? He checked the message thread. No previous messages. No name. Just a ghost warning that could only mean one thing. Someone was escalating this beyond corporate warfare. By the time Isaiah reached his office that morning, the building buzzed with unease. The usual warmth was gone. Conversations halted when he walked past, eyes flicked away, and standing in front of his office door was a tall man in a navy blue suit, federal badge clipped to his belt. "Isaiah Cole?" the man asked. Isaiah nodded slowly. "Special Agent Reese with the FBI. I have a warrant to collect all your digital devices and access your company email servers. You've been named in an active investigation concerning corporate fraud, obstruction, and potential racketeering." Isaiah didn't flinch. "Do you also have a subpoena for my legal counsel?" Reese raised an eyebrow but didn't answer. "I thought not," Isaiah said, opening the door. "You can wait in the conference room. I'll have our general counsel meet you." He walked away before the agent could speak. In the hallway, he spotted Camilla standing near the elevators, already on the phone. "You saw them?" she asked. "Yeah. But here's the thing," Isaiah said, his voice low. "This wasn't a federal case yesterday. Somebody lit a fire overnight." Camilla's eyes narrowed. "Trent." Isaiah shook his head. "Number 2 messy. He's a coward. This is someone who knows how to move pieces without leaving fingerprints." Camilla's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then we need to find the one person who does leave fingerprints, even if it's someone you're not ready to face." Isaiah didn't respond. He already knew what she meant. That afternoon, Isaiah drove to the West End, a part of Atlanta where street signs were faded and loyalties were carved in concrete. He parked outside a small, graffitied laundromat and stepped into the humid air. Inside, an older black woman sat at a folding table, filing her nails. She looked up, smirked, and shook her head. "Well, look who finally remembered who taught him how to play chess with real money." "Hello, Auntie Loretta." Loretta Langford, Isaiah's mother's cousin, and once a high-ranking fixer for politicians who didn't want their names in headlines. She'd helped bury scandals and unearth just enough truth to keep men in power. "You're not here to visit," she said flatly. "You're here because someone just pulled your pants down in front of Washington." Isaiah sat across from her, elbows on the table. "I need to know who turned my internal reform into a federal indictment." Loretta didn't blink. "You're not the only one trying to clean house. Problem is the roaches bite back, loud and rich." She tossed a manila envelope across the table. Inside were 3 photographs. Andrew McHale shaking hands with a congressman, Marcus Trent entering a private meeting with DOJ representatives, and the third— Isaiah stared at it. "Natalie Chen." Loretta nodded. "She's not just protecting herself, she's cutting off anyone who could testify, including you." Isaiah's mouth went dry. Natalie, the former CEO, had stepped down quietly, too quietly. He'd assumed she was gone, but she was orchestrating everything from the shadows. Loretta leaned forward. "If you want to survive this, you need to flip the script, find what she wants to protect most, then pull the rug out." Isaiah stood, fire in his chest. "I need access to the Foundation files, the ones she buried before her resignation." Loretta cracked her knuckles. "Already on it, but you'll owe me." Isaiah nodded. "I always do." Back at the tower, Camilla was waiting. "You were right," she said as she handed him a tablet. "Buried in the Foundation's endowment files are dozens of shell donations, companies with no staff, no history, all tied to offshore accounts. But one name keeps coming up." She zoomed in on a name. Chamberlain West Consulting. Isaiah's stomach turned. "That's the firm she used to ghostwrite our old ESG reports," Camilla added. "They're also listed as a consulting partner on a major development in D.C., the same one under ethics review." "She's laundering influence through the Foundation," Isaiah muttered. Camilla looked up at him, serious. "If we release this, it's war." Isaiah nodded. "Then let's win it clean." Later that night, Isaiah held a press conference. He stood in front of a backdrop with the Carver Solutions logo, cameras flashing, microphones aimed like rifles. "I've been accused of fraud and obstruction," he said, voice calm, firm. "These allegations are not only false, but they are a distraction from the real corruption happening beneath our noses. Today, I am releasing a full transparency report on our Foundation's finances, highlighting questionable donations, ghost firms, and executive influence laundering dating back 5 years. I am not afraid to face the truth. Can the rest of our leadership say the same?" Gasps echoed across the room as screens lit up with the report. Journalists scrambled, reporters shouted questions, security looked panicked. And somewhere across the city, Natalie Chen stood in front of a television screen, her wine glass trembling in her hand. "They're going to come for him now," her assistant whispered. Natalie didn't speak. She already knew. The war had just gone public. It happened at 8:46 a.m., just as Isaiah was pouring his second cup of coffee. The alert on his phone buzzed louder than usual. Not just a calendar ping. Not a stock update. This was a red banner. Federal indictment issued. Carver CEO named in grand jury filing. The air in the room dropped 10 degrees. Isaiah stood frozen, mug in hand, staring at the headline on his phone screen. His face drained of color. He hadn't seen this coming. Not today. Not like this. Camilla burst into the office moments later. "They moved faster than we expected," she said breathlessly. "Natalie didn't wait for the fallout. She pushed the DOJ to file early." Isaiah nodded slowly. "It's a trap. They want to corner me before the documents we leaked make it through the media cycle." "And it's working," Camilla said. CNN is already spinning it as if you published the report to distract from your charges. Isaiah exhaled, steadying himself. Where's Loretta? Coming up now? The elevator dinged. Loretta Langford entered like a storm in heels, trench coat flaring behind her, folder in hand. She looked at both of them with cool precision. Time's up, kid. They're not playing chess anymore. This is war in the dirt. Isaiah raised an eyebrow. What do we have left? She dropped the folder on his desk. Her offshore backup account. We cracked it. Camilla blinked. You did what? Loretta grinned. Had an old friend in Luxembourg who owed me a favor. Turns out, Natalie Chen has been hiding far more than political bribes. Isaiah opened the file and his eyes widened. Inside were photos of classified construction plans, payoffs to defense subcontractors, and a private email chain involving Natalie and an executive at Chamberlain West discussing a covert expansion project for government surveillance. She's not just dirty, Camilla whispered. She's radioactive. Loretta leaned in. And if you drop this, she won't survive it. But neither might you. So you better be damn sure you're ready. Isaiah didn't hesitate. I am. 3 hours later, Isaiah was sitting under hot lights at WBC News headquarters, microphone clipped to his collar, fingers folded calmly in front of him. You're facing federal indictment, the anchor said sharply. Why should the public trust anything you're about to say? Isaiah didn't flinch. Because I'm not hiding behind lawyers or PR firms, and I won't let the truth get buried just because it's inconvenient. He handed the anchor a flash drive on air. This contains encrypted files proving criminal misconduct, not by me but by my predecessor and her network of silent partners. I'm releasing it to the press, to law enforcement, and to the American people. Whatever comes next, I'm not afraid. Backstage, Camilla watched the live feed with bated breath. On the screen, the anchor froze. A producer whispered something urgently in her ear. The interview was cut short. Commercial break. Seconds later, Isaiah's phone rang. It wasn't a number he recognized. He answered. A deep voice said, "This is Deputy Attorney General Thomas Brenner. I just saw your segment. We need to talk." Isaiah exchanged a look with Camilla. The government had just blinked. That night, as rain pelted the glass walls of his penthouse office, Isaiah stood looking out over the city. The lights below shimmered, blurred by droplets. Camilla stepped beside him, holding 2 glasses of bourbon. You just got word. The DOJ is pausing the indictment until they can review your evidence. Isaiah took the glass but didn't speak. You should feel relieved, she said. He turned to her slowly. I don't. Not yet. Natalie's not done. And she wasn't, because just then Camilla's phone buzzed again. She picked it up, frowning. It's a video message. From Trent. She pressed play. On the screen was Marcus Trent, the former board member Isaiah had humiliated weeks earlier. He looked panicked, recording himself from what looked like a hotel bathroom. If you're seeing this, it means Natalie found out I tried to warn you. She's going scorched earth. There's more. She has a contingency plan. Not just against Isaiah, but against anyone who touches the foundation files. If I disappear, check the safety deposit box at Hamilton Trust in D.C. The video ended. Camilla looked up, pale. He's dead, isn't he? Isaiah nodded. And if she's going scorched earth, then we're already in the blast zone. Silence filled the room. Then Loretta's voice echoed from behind them. Then you better find a way to walk through fire. Isaiah clenched his jaw, fire in his chest. Let's finish this. It was supposed to be a press conference. Rows of cameras lined the sleek lobby of Langford Industries' downtown tower. Reporters murmured. The tension in the air was thick enough to slice with a razor. But the man they were here for, Isaiah Langford, was nowhere to be seen. Instead, Natalie Chen stepped confidently up to the podium. She wore navy blue, presidential, controlled, her voice calm but commanding. I understand there have been many false narratives circulating about my previous tenure, she began. I'm here today to clarify, to correct, and to protect the truth. Behind the scenes, inside a fortified media control room, just one floor above, Isaiah, Camila, and Loretta watched the live stream feed. Every second of it. She's flipping the story, Camila said, eyes narrowed, framing you as a tech world extremist, using leaks to manipulate public perception. Isaiah didn't blink. Let her. Loretta looked at him. You sure about this? You've got about 20 seconds before she drops that doctored audit. Once that's public. Isaiah turned to the technician. Broadcast feed. Cut to our override. Now. The screen behind Natalie flickered. Static buzzed. The crowd murmured. Then it began. A video feed filled the giant screen. Real emails, confidential contracts, bank transfers, all traced back to Chen and her off-books deals. But that wasn't the twist. A voice began speaking. Not Isaiah's. It was Trent's. The man everyone assumed was dead. Hello. If you're watching this, it means I've gone into protective custody. Natalie Chen tried to silence me, but I left behind every receipt. I was part of it once, but I couldn't stomach how far she went. The blackmail, the surveillance, the bribes. I'm not the hero here, but Isaiah Langford is not your enemy. Gasps rippled through the press room. Cameras spun toward Natalie. She went pale. No, she muttered. No, that footage was sealed. Back upstairs, Camilla whispered, How did you get that video? Isaiah smiled faintly. Let's just say Loretta still has a few old friends in federal security clearance. Loretta raised her coffee cup. Bless the NSA. Back in the lobby, Natalie was unraveling. She reached for the microphone, but the murmurs turned to shouting. Is it true you diverted emergency funds from the Langford Foundation? What about the offshore accounts in Zurich? Did you order the shutdown on whistleblowers? She backed away, breath ragged. And then, poetically, finally, security approached her. The same guards who had once stopped Isaiah without a second thought. Natalie Chen, one of them said, You're under arrest. Federal warrant. The look on her face was part shock, part rage, but the moment had passed. She was no longer in control. The next day, Isaiah stood outside the courthouse. No entourage, no cameras, just him, in a charcoal suit, hands in his pockets, breathing in the cold morning air. Camilla walked up beside him. It's over, she said softly. You did it. Isaiah shook his head. It's never really over. But maybe now we can start again, with transparency, with accountability. You think people will believe in that? She asked. He looked at her. I don't need them to believe in me. I need them to believe in something better. A pause. Then she smiled. The board reinstated your full authority. You're back in the seat. He smirked. Let's do something good with it, this time. 2 weeks later, Langford Industries launched a new initiative. Public financial audits, fully transparent to donors and stakeholders. Employee-owned equity plans. Scholarships in underserved neighborhoods, named after whistleblowers who never made headlines. Isaiah didn't take interviews. He let the actions speak louder. And when one reporter finally caught up with him at a school opening in Baltimore and asked, What would you say to the guards who stopped you in your own lobby all those months ago? He paused, then said simply, I'd thank them. Because sometimes it takes getting stopped cold to realize how far you've come. This story is a reminder that power without integrity collapses. That courage can come in quiet decisions, not just bold speeches. and that the truth, no matter how buried, always finds its way to the surface. If you believe in stories that hold people accountable, that shine a light where others fear to look, then stay with us. Subscribe, share, be part of the voices that refuse to stay unheard.